guys, it's me Abhidvedi and you are listening on Extended Reality Developers of India community. Today I'm really excited to host this show because I'm a fan of the guest today, TiltBrush Artist. She's a live performer, she's VR artist and animator. Without any further delay, let's invite Miss Rosie Summers on our show. So hi Rosie, how are you doing?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I am fantastic.
Awesome. It's great to have you on the show, and you do such an amazing art, such a creative style of expression you already have. So would love to know about you and would love to know a little bit of self background.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm a virtual reality artist and TiltBrush performer. And I found VR back in 2015, so I'm a bit of a dinosaur to the medium, really. I had an Oculus DK1 where I experienced the little Italian fountain scene. And I had no idea the tech had progressed to such a stage when I experienced that demo. And I was actually, a little bit blown away. But not as blown away, surprisingly, as the Google Cardboard, which put me into a world just through the screen of my phone. And that's what really made me realize, like, wow, this is something, this is so lightweight. It's just a screen on my phone. This can be something huge. And I was most passionate about the area of storytelling and what this medium can bring to telling stories, because, you're in the heart of the narrative now. So the story just unfolds around you and you're an active agent in a story. And that, as someone who is like a big storyteller, obviously being an animator and an artist, I was just absolutely blown away. And then what really tipped it for me was watching Glenn Keane paint Ariel in TiltBrush, where he basically drew one of his most famous Disney characters, which he's created, in the space in front of him, and drew her to scale. And it was that was, for an artist, to see someone bringing a whole new dimension to the way you design characters, really was amazing. And yeah, a few weeks later I got a headset, and that's where my virtual journey really started.
Awesome. So it's really hard for our listeners to visualize, but those who are watching us, who are going to watch us on YouTube or who are going to watch us live, so definitely I have something to show you. I'm showing one of her presentations, one of her creations. So as you can already see, let me just turn on audio. Wow, it totally gives a new perspective, as you already said, the next dimension. So would love to know about your interest, and also there are a lot of dance moves involved. I'm totally sure about that. So yeah, would love to know how the discovery happens. How did you, in 2015 was the first time and you just watched it into maybe a Google Cardboard or maybe DK1. So what was that journey? How did you discover this? And how did you make the decision that, the art could be merged with this form of expression and this media? So would love to know.
Yeah, well, it was actually that video of Glenn Keane painting Ariel, because he is, as an animator, I really look up to Glenn Keane because he is a famous Disney animator. So to see him using this tool to bring a whole new dimension to his character design, I was just like, this is an insane piece of technology that can revolutionize my workflow. Yep. And it has revolutionized my workflow, because now as an animator, as a games designer, I always use VR in my pipeline, no matter what. Even if it's just a 3D game and it's not even going to be VR output, I would still pre-visualize and concept all my scenes in virtuality, because there is no better view than being inside the world. And that's what I soon realized.
Amazing, amazing. It's just
Yeah.
a next way of expression in this creative technology. So now let's talk about the creativity and the technology. Let's understand the blend between self-expression with this technology. So how do you see this perspective, and how technologies are empowering the artist to express themselves into these new dimensions?
Yeah, well, with VR, for the first time ever as a creative, you can immerse into the technology and have no distractions. And that is a big thing for me because usually if I'm painting just on the computer here using a
Yep.
Wacom tablet, I'm still distracted by my phone buzzing, by internet browsers popping up, alerting me of notifications on Twitter. But in the headspace, in the virtual headset, you are just it's nothing. It's literally just a space with you and your artwork. So it's very intimate. And this allows you to just connect with your art in ways that you never have before. And this, in the process, unleashes new creative possibilities. So, for example, by just being attention just inside your artwork, literally inside your world, just moving things around like interior design space around you, it conjures up new creative ideas, and that is a very free way of working. And that is a lot. I describe VR a lot as being a free way of working because it does seem that way. It's very, very organic the way you create things, and that's when I soon realised that my whole body was making this artwork, and that's when I became fascinated with the concept of performance and how I don't just create a piece like I click a mouse and stuff like that. My whole body sort of performs the piece and tells a story of each brushstroke that I make. So that's when I realized that VR isn't just a spectacle inside the headset; it's also a spectacle outside.
Awesome. So let's also talk about the commercial perspective of this sort of artwork. So you have worked with a lot of renowned, you can say, clients, and these clients include a big organization. So would love to talk about some of your clients, some of your work. Awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I'd say one of the best clients I've worked with has been the BBC. So that was for the Planet Earth department, where I worked on the Seven Worlds, One Planet promo.
Wow.
And that was done until where I created all seven continents in like a pizza shape. So each pie slice of the pizza sort of represented one continent. So yep. I just painted and live performed elements of each continent. So these included all the natural attractions in the continents. So I sort of arranged them from north to south, and where they on the pie slice of where they are in the continent. And that was just a lovely way of connecting with this nature that I've never had before. And it was pretty enjoyable because I had to do a lot of research, a lot of planning. And it was really hard, to cram all these exciting natural attractions. I didn't use every one, obviously, it would have been far too big a scene, but all the biggest natural attractions from all these continents into a pie slice, and not have sort of like a contrast happening, because you've got these flaming cliffs of Mongolia, for example, and then these Russian snowy mountains. So it was very much a it was hard to balance such a contrast, but I feel it sort of worked in the end. It sort of showed this nature's chaos, and nature can be a bit haphazard, and so I thought it represented that quite well, and ended up working in the end. But that was one of the most enjoyable pieces that I've worked on.
Wow.
I've done lots of stuff for National Football Museum here in England, which is really good because I promoted women in sports. Did a lot of stuff for the Lionesses when they were when it was the World Cup, which was really fun. And live performing at YouTube Space, which was amazing, in front of a bunch of YouTube personalities. So that was awesome, just to mix with people like that, and have the opportunity to perform in front of them as well, which was an absolute honour. And that was for International Women's Day. One of them, where I painted Frida, which is someone who really inspires me as an artist. So it was really nice to connect in that way as well.
Awesome. So these are some great work. I can totally see. Let me just show your channel, because I can totally see a lot of creative videos there. So please subscribe to Rosie Summers, because she has a lot to offer in terms of creativity. Whenever I watch your content, it's just blows my mind. I mean, it gives me a new perspective of scale, new perspective of imaginations. It's always refreshing. It's always something which is, I mean, to a normal person, not an artist, it's unimaginable to see this new perspective. It's always surprising. So let's also talk about some of your I mean, we already have there are so many artists throughout the history, okay, and they always had these sort of imaginations, and these imaginations already has those dimensions, but the painting, the canvas which they have is always 2D, is always I mean, the limited way of expression. So now we have this limitless, this boundaryless environment, and you can express in three-dimensional ways. So in various patterns emerges and something new appears. So how you think artists are taking advantage of this new dimension, and how what is your perspective? It's never been happened in the history before, so it's just literally enabling artists to express in so many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what blew my mind initially with VR mediums, was the ability to now paint in space around me and not be limited to a frame or a canvas. I could just run around this whole world and create it, you know, and it revolutionized my way of working, because I was personally a portrait artist before I found virtual reality, which is really interesting. I didn't want to do environments. I hated doing environments. I hated doing worlds. Didn't interest me. But then as soon as I put on a headset, I suddenly wanted to create worlds and landscapes and environments. And if you look at my work now, it is predominantly world-based. I predominantly world build, which is, it just flipped all my art, what I'd done before, just upside down. And I'm now expressing myself in a new way as an artist. And I personally would have absolutely loved to see what the famous artists did with this medium, like especially people like Picasso and and Van Gogh. I would have loved to see what Van Gogh did, because, you know, the way he interpreted the world, always fascinating. Whenever I look at his work, I'm just like, wow, the way this guy perceived color and the landscape and the world. I immerse inside his paintings just by looking at them. So never mind what he would have done with immersive mediums. I would have loved to put a headset on Van Gogh and see what he would have painted. It really is. It's I call myself often now an artstronaut, because it does feel like you're just painting around, exploring space. I've ditched the canvas, and space is now my canvas.
Wow, space is the new dimension. We also call this spatial computing, so it's amazing to see such creativity. I'm your biggest fan, and I show your work to a lot of students. I have taught more than 10,000 plus students in past 1 year. So I'm teaching them about your content as well, that VR is not, or VR and AR, these technologies are not about just technologies. These are the way of self-expression. It's not, people are getting overwhelmed by the technology heavy condition or right now with the VR, but would love if you could explain that it's more about your self-expression than technology. Whatever the skill you have, whatever the talent you have, you can mix and merge with technology and come up with something new. So would love to know your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely 100% agree there.
Yep, totally. Also would love to talk to you, and I think you cut off.
I lost
sometime.
you a bit
Yeah, can you repeat just last 2 seconds?
Sorry about that.
Yep, no issues.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right there. What I noticed soon after starting with VR was a lot of people. It was a common misconception. A lot of people were saying it's a little bit too technical, but you need a bit of coding to get into it. But that is totally wrong. And that was what was hesitating me getting into the industry, was maybe thinking, is it too technical for me? Do I need coding? But it's totally wrong. You can make VR experiences. You can make art. You can express yourself with virtual reality without any sort of technical skills or development experience. And that is a common misconception. People are hesitate from getting into that industry because they feel it's a little bit above their head and not technically capable for them, but that is totally wrong. And you are right. That is totally wrong, because I am a pure artist. I don't know anything about tech. I was a little bit of a not so great with tech, but I've got better now as time's gone on. But the tools, the way you can design in virtual reality technology as well, is all designed around the efficiency of using the tools. So if you look at tools like TiltBrush, you have a palette, you have a paintbrush. You don't have a mouse and 100 of drop-down windows, which is what's really hard to get into 3D programs, especially, is knowing what to click on and how to use it. But with VR, you only have these 2 items, and you can just point, click, select things. It's just so much easier for you to create 3D worlds and 3D landscapes and characters in VR than it is using 3D programs. That is just hands down. They've stripped it back, and they've made it a comfortable and easy to use medium to get into, which is fantastic for revolutionizing people getting into 3D creation.
Awesome, amazing. So it's definitely fantastic to know the perspective. Also, do you see that in the future, in the coming ahead us, because of these new technologies, are we going to see the next Picasso, or are we going to see the next Da Vinci? Because now technology is enabling us to do so much more, and those people did such creative stuff, such advanced stuff in that time, such artistic knowledge they had. And now artists have this creative tools and ability to reach the next dimension, see everything at once in the virtual reality. So what is your opinion? Are we going to leave them back? And again,
absolutely. I do believe.
Yeah, also there is social media. So now the reach is much more easier. So those people may not have that sort of reach, which, you can upload something and there's a reach of 1 million people who are interested in that sort of content. So yeah, it was never possible. What is your opinion?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel we're going to see that. We're on the cusp of seeing something like that very soon. There's a lot of stuff going around with the crypto art scene. I don't know if you've heard of the crypto blockchain scene at all, but there's already sort of it's selling you out on the blockchain basically, and there's already been a few prolific artists which have sort of becoming that. They're becoming these new radical artists with really exciting ways of working. So I feel that this is already starting to emerge, and I feel once this medium really starts to get mainstream, we're going to start seeing that a lot more, because that's one of the issues at the minute, is people not being able to access the art. We can upload it, we can do tours, we can do videos around the artwork, but it would be great for someone to, the virtual gallery could be a new thing that sort of tips that, and we can start having these famous artists appear. But it does need to become a space where everyone can, like, going into an art gallery and you're all talking and looking at the pieces, and that's how these greats get known. So once we start seeing things like that, we'll really it'll be very, very exciting.
So also would love to talk about some of the challenges of your work, because the artwork which we are seeing right here, it's just fantastic, and we can definitely say that it takes a lot to, what is the process? How do you define that? Whenever you come up with the idea, did you what do you prefer? I'm totally a non-artistic person, so I cannot even imagine that where to start first. So what is your process of if you get an idea, where do you go first?
Yeah, well, sometimes I do actually, quite often I do plan on paper still and mood board some concepts just before I hop into the virtual world, because if you'll find, if you go into the virtual world with your palette and your paintbrush, you are literally faced with a void of nothing. So it's really hard to narrow down what you'd like to paint, because when I'm faced with such a void, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can just do this and paint this, or it's the opposite. People might be faced with it and think, oh my god, I don't know what to do. So I always narrow down my ideas before I head into the virtual space, and that is usually just with a few drawings, reference, mood boards and stuff like that, and then you can import those images into the virtual space, work from them, reference them. You can even color pick if you make a color palette. So that's usually the way I work with that. But a lot of the videos you showed there are my Inktober's, and they are actually just me basically spit painting. I just put on the headset, and then I'm just like, right, so my prompt is this for today, which I don't know if you've heard of Inktober, but it is basically an art challenge where every day you get given a prompt for the whole day of October, and then you got to do a piece of art to do with that prompt each day. So when it was one of the days, I just got this single prompt, put the headset on, and I just paint just whatever around this prompt. And that was a really lovely way of working. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with creative expression. Because when I was just faced with this world and this prompt, that is what creatively came to me, just because I was faced with this space and, you know, the intimacy of me on my artwork. It just conjured up these drawings out of just my imagination. And yeah, just feel like you're walking in a dream sometimes, you know, it's very surreal. And yeah, so that's what I enjoy doing as well, is just letting my imagination dictate what to paint, just randomly on the day. And yeah, that's mainly my workflow. And then I can output from virtual reality, say, into 3D platforms if I wanted to make a game, for example, or an animation about, you know, what I'd created. So it's quite malleable with how you can use it.
That is, I think, a pretty great suggestion there, because you told us to break down the idea or cut down whatever you have, whatever the plans you have, do some research on the references and all, because that is very true. I don't know why this happens, but whenever you go inside the virtual reality, your brain almost working a little less. It's just there.
Yeah.
Maybe because of isolation or something, but you it's just not perform at 100%, and you have to have some sort of content prior going to that dimension.
Yeah, it can also be a bit scary as well.
Keep
it's like a bit
expressing.
of megalophobia.
Yeah, totally agree. And also, I had to ask that, what are your favorite tools? I mean, there are so many. There's TiltBrush, and so many competitors are keep coming.
Yeah.
And a lot of tools like Facebook Spaces. I mean, Spaces not even exist now. So Facebook Horizon already have these kind of tools. So how do you compare, and what are your basis or judgment for these tools?
Yeah, well, my first and foremost tool is TiltBrush. That is my go-to for anything creative. I do use Quill a lot as well, but TiltBrush have really nailed what it means to create in VR. They have nailed that VR is about being comfortable in a space, that you have to be happy there in order to want to work in it, because you are just like being cast into a new dimension, and you need to sort of ground yourself in this new space. And TiltBrush do that perfectly. Quill, not so much. I don't really enjoy using Quill. I think it's just, yeah, like I said, comfort is a big thing. And there's like the way the UI is and everything, it just puts me off working. It reminds me of going back to 3D software programs on the computer and stuff like that. So yeah, Quill not so much, but it's great. Quill is a fantastic tool. It really is. It's got so much things you can do with it. You can manipulate your brush strokes like never before. You can color things. You can animate. There's a whole timeline and everything. So Quill is like an immensely powerful tool. TiltBrush isn't as powerful, but it's just a more lovelier space to be in, and that does mean a lot for me, especially with working long term in the software like I am for clients and stuff like that. That is really important to me.
Awesome.
But yeah, social wise, I've not really tried many of the whole Facebook side of things, but yeah, the Wave is just a trip. It's amazing. As the virtual experiences go, that is like social experiences is just amazing. It's just like a mini rave with all your friends in virtual reality. It's awesome. And yeah, the VR chat is actually really good. You can just think of it a lot as just being like a space for kids and stuff, because that's what you often get if you just head onto it. But if you plan a private session with your friends, it's amazing. And what you can do, you can create your own worlds in it. You can, it's just amazing. VR chat is just so fantastic. Yeah, that's my main ones really that I like talking about.
Amazing. So yeah, that's TiltBrush is literally the clear winner in this. And yeah, also if I talk about challenges, so what are your specific challenges through these sort of technologies?
Yeah, well, I
And
guess
also,
one of the biggest challenges is
one more add on to this question. So I have a team of developers, and I have a big community of developers. I lead them, and they are constantly looking for ideas. So if you want to give them a suggestion that this sort of creative tool, if I had that in virtual reality, that would have made the process much more better. So is there any suggestion on that?
Yeah, well, as I said, I use VR in my pipeline every single time now. It's like a integral part of my workflow. Just the way you, like I said, just visualizing inside the world. There's no better view than that, really.
Yep.
And yeah, the challenges I faced, I guess I'd say length of time you can work in VR. You just got to take lots of breaks. Would be my biggest. That'd be a biggest challenge. Is just taking the headset off, having a break.
Yeah.
It's just always good just to connect and earth yourself again back in the physical world. Don't want to virtualize yourself too much. And yeah, that was my biggest challenge. I guess one of my challenges has always been telling people what I do. That is a huge challenge because a lot of people still don't really know about this tech. And when I say I just paint in space, they think I'm a lunatic. So it's really good to sort of tell, like, contextualize what I do, which is why I've looked at using green screen, because putting me inside the space, suddenly people are like, yes, now I know what you're talking about. So that was one of my biggest, being able to see people expressing myself in the virtual world and being able to and also maybe like I was talking earlier about portfolios, and because it is pretty difficult when not many people have a headset, because that is when you're going to get the true like wow of what you've created. But you just work around ways of showing things. So I use Poly most of the time, which is TiltBrush's uploader, and you can just see all the different models and all the different worlds I've done just in the web browser, which is that's super handy for showing to clients and stuff like that. And just videos, pictures everywhere. It's a challenge. I would love a virtual gallery space and stuff like that, which I'm currently making. And they're the biggest challenge I've faced so far. It was a lot of people, if they're traditional artists, have a challenge of being able to translate into the 3D space because they're not really used to it. They're used to just, as we were talking earlier, the flat canvas. And then suddenly when they're faced with space, it's like, oh, this angle and this angle and this angle. But I came from a 3D background, so I already was orientated in that mind space. But that is a challenge for a lot of traditional artists in the space.
Yeah, and also maybe these subjects like art and science are being studied as separate subjects, but they are not very separable. So if you talk about, cosmology, so all the cosmos, whatever the picture you have seen, it's created by an artist, because actual picture is really really low resolution, taken by Hubble and or something. So it's low resolution. So whatever you saw is imagination of an artist. So I'm already following some of your work from the all big huge cosmos and all those, and it's making so much sense in virtual reality, because in virtual reality you are in this deep space and this infinite amount of space is there, and you are making use of to create cosmos. So I just love that work. Also there is a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of psychology involved in creating these artwork, and obviously since you are working with technology, there's so much. So what is your opinion on this blend of science and technology? So would love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to visualize things like never before. I was just instantly drawn into the space side of things because I've always loved space, and now I can actually create all these places that I've wanted to visit, like the Crab Nebula, like the Horsehead Nebula, which is just a fantastic, beautiful nebula. And now I can create these space scenes, and now feel like I'm visiting them, like I'm casting a rocket up into the sky and actually looking firsthand at these amazing cosmos spectacles. And it is that's what I really wanted. That was what I was like instantly drawn to, was just bringing myself to places that I can't physically go, which was a lot in lockdown and stuff for me, because I was just creating places that I really wanted to just escape to right now. It all lands into that sort of escapism and how I'd like to draw a place and pretend I was actually there for a bit and feel like I'm there because I've created this piece, and it's so easy just to immerse in it and get lost in it and feel like you're actually there.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. You are creating the places which you want to visit. That's what we all want, right? And also, I remember that my own expression when I first time saw the mission ISS, because I'm since childhood I wanted to be an astronomer or something, and I was just there in these ways. It was almost real, and I was playing mission ISS in my Oculus Rift S, and that was pretty amazing, intense. It was some sort of, I mean, that's actually equivalent to somewhere being there. So it's making things which are actually impossible a totally possible thing. So that's the power of VR, we can totally say. Also, I have a challenge for you and to the guest. Wherever the guest is not familiar with my native language, which is Hindi, I give them one dialogue, because obviously everybody know about the Bollywood, and Bollywood is so huge thing in India. So I give them a challenge from Bollywood movies. They have to mimic a dialogue. So I'm going to give you a dialogue, and that is "Der I durust hai." Okay, I have written that on your questionnaire as well, but I'm going to spell it one more time for you. Der I durust hai. So can you say that, repeat that for me? It's a challenge.
Yep. Der I durust hai.
Oh, that's pretty good. You know Hindi now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
Now you know much more Hindi than just namaste. So you can, whenever somebody is coming late or something, you can tell them this thing, because it's literally meaning you may take more time to reveal something, but make sure the reveal is grand. It's really amazing. We are really pleased to host you on the show, and if you have some message, if you want to guide the youngsters, the young generation who wants to come on this tech platform, on this technology, but afraid of the overhead of technology or something like that, so give your message, and we are really excited to listen.
My biggest advice is take the leap, get into it, get into the future. Basically, it's still in its infancy, so we have time to mold it and put our own fingerprints on it and really make it something special, and that's down to you guys.
Just take a leap. That's a wonderful message, because when you finally take a leap, everything becomes a little easier. The hardest part is the first step. That's a pretty cool message for everyone, and thanks for coming. We are really delighted to have you on the show. You just really raised the bar for the show even, and I'm really a big fan of your work. So it's for me, it's just a dream come true to have you on the show and have this delightful conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for watching as well. It really means a lot.
Awesome. So keep watching XR Podcast, and we'll see you next week, where we'll invite another very fantastic guest, and we'll have this conversation. So we are starting our Future Ready initiative, and first class is going to be tomorrow. So if you have not registered for that, please do register. Links will get you in the description, and see you next week. Bye guys.